Most of you think success is built on stages, in boardrooms, under lights. Wrong. Success is built when nobody is watching, when there's no applause, no validation, no Instagram story, just you and the mirror. And if you can't dominate that moment, you'll never dominate the world. The truth is brutal. Your private habits expose your real rank. Your public image is just a costume. Your private discipline is your true identity. You want power? Then understand this. Success is constructed in silence. It's forged in the mornings you wake up without motivation. It's carved in the nights you work, while everyone else scrolls and sleeps. The world only sees the victory lap. It never sees the thousands of invisible reps. But those reps are the only reason the victory exists. If your private moments are weak, your public results will be embarrassing. Let's talk about speaking in tongues. Not religion, not superstition. I'm talking about a language the average man doesn't understand. The language of self-command. The internal dialogue that sounds insane to ordinary people. When you wake up and say, "I don't care how I feel, I move anyway," that's a different tongue. When your mind screams for comfort and you answer with action, that's a language of dominance. Weak men speak the language of excuses. Powerful men speak the language of execution. In your private moments, you are programming your identity. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you are telling your brain who you are. Every time you break your own rule, you downgrade yourself. You think it's small? It's not. Identity is built in micro decisions. Skip the workout when nobody sees? You just told yourself you're average. Finish the task when nobody's clapping? You just told yourself you're elite. Most men only perform when watched. That's slavery. They need validation like oxygen. Remove the audience and they collapse. That's weakness disguised as ambition. A dangerous man performs better alone because he doesn't work for attention. He works for power. And power is built in isolation. Discipline is not loud. It doesn't post. It doesn't announce itself. It's quiet, ruthless, repetitive. It's doing the boring thing again and again and again until it becomes automatic. It's controlling your impulses when no one would punish you for giving in. That's the real test, not what you do when judged. What you do when you could get away with being soft. Speaking in tongues means your standards are so high they sound foreign to average people. You say no to comfort, no to cheap dopamine, no to laziness. They look at you like you're crazy. Good. That means you're evolving. Every level of dominance sounds insane to the level below it. The disciplined man is misunderstood by the distracted. The focused man is mocked by the mediocre. Your private room is your battlefield. Your thoughts are either generals or traitors. If you can't command your own mind in silence, you'll never command respect in noise. Every time you choose control over chaos, you strengthen authority inside yourself. And once you control yourself, controlling outcomes becomes simple. You don't become powerful in public. You reveal power in public. You build it alone, in the dark, in repetition, in uncomfortable silence. That's where identity shifts. That's where weakness dies, not in speeches, not in motivation, in quiet execution. So here's the reality check. If your private life is disorganized, distracted, undisciplined, stop pretending you're destined for greatness. Greatness doesn't visit men who can't govern themselves. It rewards the ruthless, the consistent, the ones who obey their own commands. You think you're ambitious because you talk about goals in public. You think you're driven because you announce plans. That's amateur behavior. Success doesn't care about your declarations. It responds to what you do when there is no audience, when the room is empty, when the phone is face down, when nobody would know if you stopped. That's the arena where real men are separated from performers. Most people are addicted to being seen trying. They love the aesthetic of effort. Gym selfies, late night grind posts, big talk at dinners, but strip away the spotlight and they collapse into comfort. That's not ambition, that's insecurity dressed up as motivation. If your performance depends on witnesses, you're not strong, you're dependent. The uncomfortable truth is this: the world rewards outcomes, not intentions, and outcomes are manufactured in silence. The extra hour of study when your friends are out, the early morning session when your body is begging for sleep, the repetition of a skill long after it becomes boring. These are invisible investments. Nobody claps for them, nobody even knows they happened, but they compound. Isolation is a test of identity. When nobody is validating you, who are you? When nobody is checking your progress, do you still execute? The average man negotiates with himself in private. I'll start tomorrow. One day won't matter. I deserve a break. That internal bargaining is weakness. It reveals a lack of command, a lack of authority over self. High-level individuals operate differently. Their discipline is not emotional. It is structural. They don't wake up asking how they feel. They wake up and follow protocol. They move because it's scheduled. They train because it's required. They build because it's non-negotiable. Their private life is organized like a military operation. No drama. No theatrics. Just execution. Silence is where your character is audited. In public, you can curate an image. You can choose words carefully. You can posture. But alone, there is no performance. There is only truth. If your private environment is chaotic, your ambitions are a fantasy. If your private standards are low, your public ceiling is already set. Look at the men who dominate industries. Do you think they became sharp under bright lights? No. They became sharp in empty rooms, repeating fundamentals, refining strategy, eliminating distractions. The public only sees the speech, the deal, the victory. They don't see the thousands of disciplined decisions that preceded it. Those decisions were made in isolation. Isolation also exposes your relationship with discomfort. When no one is watching, discomfort feels optional. You can quit and nobody would challenge you. That's the real test. Do you hold yourself accountable when there are zero external consequences? Because if you can't enforce standards on yourself, the world will enforce limits on you. There's a psychological edge that develops when you master isolation. You stop needing validation. You stop seeking permission. You become internally driven. That internal engine is powerful because it's stable. External praise fluctuates. Public attention fades. But a self-directed man remains consistent regardless of noise. Private execution builds unshakable confidence. Not the loud kind, the quiet kind, the kind that doesn't need to prove anything. When you've done the work alone, repeatedly, relentlessly, you don't fear competition. You've already beaten your worst opponent, your own laziness. The difference between those who talk and those who win is simple. One group performs for attention. The other performs for results. One needs to be seen trying. The other needs to see progress. One collapses in silence. The other thrives in it. If you cannot dominate your behavior in isolation, you will never dominate outcomes in public. The spotlight magnifies what already exists. It does not create strength. It exposes preparation. And preparation is built in rooms where nobody is watching, nobody is praising, and nobody is coming to save you. You can fool the world with confidence. You can dress sharp, speak loudly, post strategically, and curate an image of ambition. But you cannot fool your habits. They expose you every single day. Your private routines are a mirror that never lies. They reveal your true discipline, your real standards, and your actual level of self-respect. People obsess over appearance because it's easier than transformation. It's easier to look successful than to become disciplined. But the brutal reality is this: your habits are your hierarchy. If you wake up late, procrastinate, chase distractions, and avoid discomfort in private, you are not high value. You are pretending, and pretending collapses under pressure. The world doesn't reward how you feel about yourself. It rewards patterns. Patterns create momentum. Momentum creates results. If your daily behavior is inconsistent, your future will be unstable. It's that simple. Success isn't an event. It's the mathematical outcome of repeated actions. Your habits are votes for the person you're becoming. Every day you cast a ballot. Are you voting for strength or weakness? Most men underestimate the power of small actions because they crave dramatic breakthroughs. They want a big deal, a viral moment, a sudden leap. But dominance is rarely dramatic. It's methodical. It's the decision to train when tired, to study when bored, to work when no one is checking. These small, repetitive choices form your identity, and identity determines performance. Your private habits also shape your self-image. If you consistently break promises to yourself, your confidence erodes. Not publicly, internally. You stop trusting your own word. And a man who cannot trust himself cannot lead anything. Not a team, not a business, not even his own life. Every skipped commitment sends a message. My standards are flexible. Flexible standards create fragile results. On the other hand, disciplined habits create internal authority. When you follow through daily, you build evidence. Evidence that you are reliable. Evidence that you execute. Evidence that you can handle discomfort. That evidence becomes quiet, confidence, not arrogance, not noise, just certainty. And certainty is powerful. Look at your environment. Is it organized or chaotic? Look at your schedule. Is it structured or reactive? Look at your consumption. Are you feeding your mind with strategy or with distraction? These details matter. They are signals. A man's private ecosystem predicts his public outcomes. Disorder in the shadows becomes failure in the spotlight. Excuses thrive in privacy. No one will know. It doesn't matter today. I'll correct it tomorrow. That internal dialogue is dangerous because every time you tolerate a weak habit, you normalize mediocrity. You make it acceptable. Over time, acceptable becomes standard, and standard becomes identity. Elite individuals guard their routines aggressively. They understand that habits are leverage. The right routine multiplies output. The wrong routine drains energy. They design their days with intention. Sleep is controlled, diet is controlled, work blocks are controlled. Entertainment is limited, not because they lack freedom, but because they value power more than impulse. There's also a psychological edge to disciplined habits. When your day is structured and productive, stress decreases, clarity increases, decision fatigue reduces. You move with direction instead of reacting to chaos. That stability creates competitive advantage. While others are scrambling, you are executing. The difference between average and exceptional isn't talent, it's standards applied consistently. Anyone can act focused for a day. Very few can sustain disciplined habits for years, and sustainability is what compounds. Compounding effort beats occasional intensity every time. Your habits are your real resume, not what you say, not what you post, not what you intend, what you repeat. Repetition exposes commitment. It exposes priorities. It exposes whether you truly respect your potential or just fantasize about it. If your private routines are weak, no amount of public confidence will save you. Pressure will expose the cracks. But if your habits are sharp, structured, and relentless, you become difficult to compete with. Because while others are relying on motivation, you are relying on systems. And systems don't wake up tired. There is a voice in your head that negotiates with weakness. It sounds reasonable. It sounds logical. It tells you to wait, to delay, to rest a little longer. And most men obey it without question. That's the problem. If you're not in control of your own mind, you're not in control of anything. Your thoughts are not commands. They are suggestions. Yet the average man treats every impulse like an order. He feels tired, so he stops. He feels bored, so he quits. He feels intimidated, so he avoids. That is not decision-making. That is submission. Submission to emotion. Submission to comfort. Submission to a mind that has never been trained. Mental discipline is not natural. It is built. Your brain is wired for efficiency and safety, not dominance. It prefers what is familiar. It avoids what is uncomfortable. That means growth will always feel unnatural at first. If you are waiting to feel ready, you are already behind. Readiness is a myth created by people who fear discomfort. High performers understand something critical. Action leads, emotion follows. They don't wait for motivation to appear, they move first. The moment hesitation shows up, they interrupt it. They replace later with now. They override resistance with structure. That interruption is power. It's the difference between drifting and directing. The mind must be conditioned like a muscle. You train it through repetition of difficult choices. Every time you act despite resistance, you strengthen authority. Every time you obey procrastination, you strengthen weakness. There is no neutral ground. Your mental habits are either sharpening you or softening you. Control begins with awareness. You must recognize the internal scripts running automatically. I deserve a break. It's not urgent. I'll start Monday. These are not truths. They are comfort strategies. Your brain is attempting to conserve energy. But if you allow that instinct to dominate, your life shrinks to the size of your comfort zone. Elite individuals establish non-negotiables, clear standards that are not influenced by mood, wake-up time, training schedule, work blocks, steady hours. These are fixed. They do not fluctuate with emotion. That structure eliminates internal debate. And eliminating debate conserves mental energy for execution. There is also a deeper layer to mental control, identity alignment. When you see yourself as disciplined, your behavior follows. When you see yourself as inconsistent, your behavior confirms it. The mind seeks consistency between belief and action. If you constantly tell yourself you are serious, but act casually, internal conflict grows. That conflict drains confidence. To master your mind, you must speak to it with authority, not encouragement, not negotiation. Authority. When resistance appears, you respond with clarity. This is required. No emotional language, no self-pity. Just instruction. Over time, your brain adapts to that tone. It stops expecting compromise. Distraction is another battlefield. The modern world is engineered to fragment attention. Notifications, endless content, instant gratification. Every distraction you indulge trains your mind to seek stimulation instead of depth. Depth is where results live. Focus is a competitive advantage, and focus is impossible without control. Stress also tests mental authority. Under pressure, untrained minds panic. They catastrophize. They freeze. Trained minds assess. They prioritize. They act. The difference is not intelligence. It is conditioning. If you consistently practice discipline in calm moments, you respond with control in chaotic ones. Understand this clearly. Your external circumstances are secondary. Your internal command structure is primary. You can have resources, connections, and opportunities, but if your mind lacks discipline, you will sabotage yourself. Conversely, a controlled mind can create opportunity from scarcity. The strongest advantage you can develop is self-command, the ability to act without emotional permission, the ability to remain steady when others are reactive, the ability to override instinct in pursuit of strategy. That is mental dominance, and without it, every ambition you have is fragile. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your patterns. That's the uncomfortable reality nobody wants to admit. You can declare big ambitions, set aggressive targets, talk about transformation, but your identity will always drag you back to whatever you repeatedly practice. Repetition is not just action. It's programming, and most men are programming themselves for mediocrity without realizing it. Every behavior you repeat becomes easier, not because it matters less, but because your brain adapts. Neural pathways strengthen, resistance decreases. What once felt difficult becomes automatic. That's the science behind mastery. But it works both ways. Repeat discipline and you become disciplined. Repeat excuses and you become the excuse. Identity is not what you say you are. It's what you consistently do. If you train 3 times a week for a year, you're disciplined. If you quit every time it gets hard, you are inconsistent. There is no debate. There is no motivational speech that overrides repetition. Your actions cast votes daily, and those votes accumulate into a self-image that either empowers you or limits you. Most men are chasing intensity. They want explosive change. They want a dramatic shift. They want to flip a switch and become elite overnight. That mindset is childish. High-level individuals understand that identity evolves through controlled repetition. Small, consistent actions performed relentlessly outperform sporadic bursts of effort every time. You skip one workout. It feels harmless. You delay one task. It seems minor. You break one promise to yourself. You justify it. But here's the truth. You just weakened the standard. You lowered the bar internally, and your brain noticed. It logged that compromise. Repeat that compromise enough times and it becomes your baseline. Standards are built through repetition. If you repeatedly act with discipline, your tolerance for weakness drops. You become uncomfortable with laziness. You feel misaligned when you slack. That's power. That's when discipline shifts from effort to identity. You no longer force yourself to act strong. You simply operate from that position. There's a psychological shift that happens when repetition aligns with your goals. Confidence stops being loud. It becomes quiet certainty because you have evidence. You've proven to yourself that you show up, that you execute, that you don't fold under minor resistance. That evidence compounds into internal authority. On the other hand, inconsistency creates internal doubt. Even if you appear confident externally, you know the truth. You know how often you quit. You know how often you delay. That knowledge erodes self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of dominance. If you don't believe you will follow through, why would anyone else? Repetition also removes decision fatigue. When behaviors are automatic, you conserve mental energy. You don't debate whether to train. You train. You don't question whether to work. You work. That automation increases efficiency. It frees cognitive resources for strategy, creativity, and high-level thinking. Look at elite performers in any field. Their routines are boring, predictable, structured. That's not accidental. They understand that mastery is built through thousands of repetitions of fundamentals. Flashy moments are rare. Foundation work is constant. They don't rely on mood, they rely on pattern. There is no shortcut around repetition. You cannot hack identity. You cannot outsource discipline. You cannot manifest consistency. You build it day by day, action by action. And it's not glamorous. It's often monotonous. But monotony is where transformation happens. If you want to shift your identity, stop focusing on outcomes. Focus on repeatable behaviors. Define the standard. Execute it daily. Protect it aggressively. Because once repetition becomes aligned with excellence, your self-image upgrades automatically. And once your identity upgrades, your performance follows without friction. Comfort is not harmless. It is strategic. It seduces slowly, then weakens decisively. It doesn't attack you with obvious destruction. It whispers. It tells you that you've done enough, that you deserve ease, that pushing harder is unnecessary. And if you listen long enough, your edge disappears without you even noticing. The modern environment is engineered for comfort. Food is instant. Entertainment is endless. Distraction is one click away. You don't have to endure boredom. You don't have to tolerate silence. You don't even have to move much to survive. That sounds convenient. It's actually dangerous. Because when survival requires nothing, ambition requires everything. Growth lives on the other side of discomfort. Strength is built under resistance. Discipline is forged through inconvenience. When you consistently choose what feels good over what builds capacity, you shrink your potential. Not dramatically, gradually. And gradual decline is the most lethal kind because it feels normal. Comfort lowers your standards quietly. You start compromising small things. A skipped session, a delayed task, a postponed goal. Each compromise feels insignificant, but it establishes a pattern. The pattern says ease is acceptable. Over time, acceptable becomes expected, and expected becomes your operating system. High performers understand this threat. They don't eliminate comfort entirely. They control it. They decide when to rest. They decide when to relax. They never allow it to dictate behavior. That distinction is critical. If comfort controls your schedule, your ambition is already compromised. There is a psychological component to comfort addiction. Dopamine. Immediate reward. Quick pleasure. Every time you choose short-term satisfaction over long-term progress, your brain reinforces that preference. The more you indulge it, the stronger it becomes. Eventually, discipline feels unnatural. Effort feels extreme. Focus feels exhausting. That's not because you're incapable. It's because you trained yourself to avoid strain. Discomfort, on the other hand, expands capacity. When you wake up early despite fatigue, you prove control. When you work while bored, you strengthen focus. When you train while sore, you build resilience. Each uncomfortable action increases your tolerance. An increased tolerance creates competitive advantage. Comfort also distorts perception. It convinces you that you have time, that there's no urgency, that tomorrow will be better. But time doesn't negotiate. It moves regardless of your comfort level. Every day spent choosing ease over effort is a day your competitors are gaining ground. Look at the men who dominate industries, sports, business. They have one trait in common. They voluntarily embrace difficulty. They seek challenge. They lean into pressure, not because they enjoy pain, but because they understand leverage. Discomfort multiplies growth. Comfort multiplies stagnation. There's a discipline in deliberately choosing hard options, taking the stairs, having the difficult conversation, studying the extra hour, finishing the last rep. These actions condition your nervous system to associate strain with progress. Over time, you stop fearing discomfort. You start using it. Comfort feels safe, but it erodes confidence. Deep down, you know when you're avoiding growth. You feel it. That awareness chips away at self-respect. And without self-respect, dominance is impossible. You cannot lead, build, or compete effectively while knowing you habitually choose ease. Controlled discomfort sharpens you. It clarifies priorities. It eliminates distractions. It demands focus. It reminds you that strength is earned, not granted. Every time you override the desire for comfort, you reinforce authority over yourself. And authority over yourself is the foundation of authority anywhere else. The men who win are not superhuman. They simply refuse to let comfort make their decisions. They design their environment to challenge them. They structure their days to demand effort. They treat ease as a reward, not a lifestyle. And that distinction separates growth from decay. You want influence. You want respect. You want control over outcomes. Yet you haven't mastered control over yourself. That contradiction is the reason most men stay average. They chase authority externally while living in chaos internally. That never works. Power without self-command is unstable, and unstable men don't lead. They react. Before you attempt to command a room, command your habits. Before you attempt to build a business, build structure in your day. Before you demand loyalty, prove consistency. Self-mastery is not a philosophical concept. It's operational. It's visible in how you wake up, how you train, how you think, how you respond under pressure. If you cannot regulate your impulses will regulate you. Anger, laziness, distraction, overindulgence. These are not minor flaws, they are leaks in your authority. Every uncontrolled reaction weakens your credibility, especially in your own eyes. And once you lose credibility with yourself, your confidence becomes performance, not substance. Men who lack self-mastery are easy to manipulate. Offer them comfort and they fold. Offer them validation and they bend. Offer them temptation and they compromise. That is not power. That is vulnerability disguised as ambition. True power requires independence from emotional swings and external triggers. Self-mastery begins with discipline in small domains. Sleep schedule, physical training, nutrition, focused work. These are not random habits. They are proof of control. When you control the basics, you build momentum. Momentum builds stability. Stability builds authority. There's a psychological shift that happens when you consistently honor your own standards. You stop negotiating with weakness. You stop explaining yourself. You move with certainty. That certainty is felt by others. People trust consistency. They follow strength, not because you demand it, but because you radiate it. Leadership is not loud. It's composed. It's measured, it's decisive, and decisiveness comes from internal clarity. If your thoughts are scattered and your actions inconsistent, your decisions will reflect that chaos. But when you operate from structure, your choices are sharp, efficient, calculated. Self-mastery also strengthens resilience. Life will test you. Financial stress, competition, criticism, unexpected setbacks. If your internal discipline is weak, pressure breaks you. If it's strong, pressure refines you. The same heat that melts wax hardens steel. The difference is internal structure. Most men seek shortcuts to influence. They study persuasion tactics. They memorize communication tricks. But without substance, those tools fail under scrutiny. Real influence is built on credibility. Credibility is built on reliability. And reliability is built on self-control. There is also a freedom that comes with mastery. When you are not ruled by impulse, you operate strategically. You choose long-term gain over short-term pleasure. You make calculated sacrifices. You invest energy wisely. That freedom expands opportunity because you are no longer distracted by every passing urge. Excellence in external arenas mirrors discipline in internal ones. The man who trains his body consistently approaches business with the same rigor. The man who controls his diet can control his schedule. Patterns transfer. Weakness transfers too. If you are sloppy in private, it will leak into performance. Self-mastery is not perfection. It is alignment. Your actions match your standards. Your standards match your goals. There is no internal conflict, no constant guilt, no fragile ego, just steady execution. You cannot build an empire on unstable foundations. You cannot demand respect while lacking self-respect. You cannot expect obedience from others while disobeying your own commitments. Control yourself first. Structure yourself first. Prove to yourself that your word is law. Only then does authority extend beyond you. Success is not built when people are watching. It's built when quitting would be easy and you don't. It's built when you speak that internal language of action while everyone else speaks comfort. That's the difference between average and elite. Master your private moments and the world becomes predictable. Fail in private and the world will expose you publicly. Choose your language carefully. Choose your identity carefully. Because every silent decision is either building a king or confirming a coward. Now decide who you are when no one is looking.